Okay, and we are live. Hi, I'm Philip Lee. I'm with the Seward County Community College Marketing and Public Relations Office, and today I am here with Travis Funk and Lexi Honey, and they are with the Seward County Community College Surge Tech program. Hi, guys. How are you today?
Doing great, Philip. Thank you.
Doing great.
Good. And, this morning we're going to talk a little about the program and the prerequisites that are necessary to get into the program. Now, there's an application process, and while the program doesn't start until the actual fall, it's really important that the students who are really interested in the program get their requirements out of the way. And so if you're interested, you can start off in the spring and get this going. So I'm going to let Travis go ahead and talk about the program a little bit and what's it all about.
Okay, so there are some certain requirements that a student that is wanting to get into surgical technology is going to need. And we have in college, we have prerequisites and we have requisites. So prerequisites are going to be courses that they're going to need to take prior to coming into the program. And a lot of those are kind of geared around surgical technology or allied health, microbiology, anatomy and physiology, medical terminology are going to be the three main ones. Now, Lexi will talk about the AAS requirements here in a minute, but those three courses are going to be geared toward the surgical technology, and those are going to be required to get into the program. We start every August, so it's important for students wanting to come into surgical technology to start those courses ahead of time. A lot of them are 5 credit hour courses. A and P could be a 5 credit hour course if they choose to go that route. So they could get that done in one semester, but those are going to be the three main ones. And then I'll let Lexi talk about the AAS requirement, which we just switched to. We've always had an AAS option, but now it's no longer an option. The AAS is a requirement for the program.
Okay. So as far as our other requirements for getting into the program, we do require 6 credit hours of communications. So that can be your English Comp 1, and then you can either take English Comp 2 or public speaking. You'll also need, in addition to the A&P, microbiology, and medical terminology as well. Along with that, to complete your associates in applied science, you'll need 9 credit hours of electives, and that can be in mathematics, biology, physiology, psychology, art appreciation, history, those kind of courses. You'll need 9 credit hours additionally. Travis, why don't you go ahead and tell them what it's like to be a surgical technologist?
Yeah, so that's the fun part. So in surgical technology, we have classroom and lab portion, and the students really like the classroom portion and the lab portion, or the lab portion of it. We're in the lab during the fall semester, so once they get into the program, they'll be in the lab portion. That could be exciting because we learn the skills that they need to get into surgical technology. But in the spring, when our students go into clinicals, that's where it gets exciting. Those students are involved in actual surgeries throughout Western Kansas. So we have multiple clinical sites that we have our students travel to. That's where the fun part is. So what does a surgical technologist do? Mm-hmm. They're professionals that work in surgery, just strictly surgery of a hospital. Now, there's been some doctors that hire surgical technologists in private practice that work just strictly for them, but typically you're going to see a surgical technologist work just in surgery. And in all the hospitals here in Liberal Southwest Medical Center, they hire surgical technologists. Garden City has a huge hospital, St. Catherine's, all over hire surgical technologists. So that's what they do. They work just strictly in surgery. They have some surgical techs work in OB as well. But when we roll into clinicals, our students will be working with those actual surgical techs, shoulder to shoulder with the physicians, under the direction of the surgeons and the preceptors. And that's where it gets fun. That's where the excitement comes into play, because it's actual surgery. We can't simulate surgery in the lab. I don't think anybody wants to volunteer for that because I'm not a surgeon. But we do clinicals, and it's a lot of fun. The program's a year long, so the clinicals could be quite vigorous. We push students through every 11 months. When we start in clinicals, we've got 6 months or 7 months just to finish the clinical portion of it. And there's a pretty good requirement. There's a number of cases that they have to meet to go through to finish the program. But not only that, they're divided up into different areas like ear, nose, and throat, OBGYN, orthopedics, that they have to meet in order to graduate. So that's why we go to multiple clinical sites throughout the clinical portion of it. So that's going to be the big portion. Yes, we have classroom portion the entire length of the program, but where it gets exciting and sometimes tiresome would be the clinical portion of it, because we push the students pretty hard. And those are 8-hour days. We do 2 8-hour days in the spring, and then in the summer we switch to 3 8-hour days while being in surgery. So we do that just to get the students geared toward or acclimated rather to being in the surgery environment. So when they do leave the program, they're ready to go.
So what exactly does truly, like as a surgeon, as a surg tech person, surgeon technician, what exactly do they, we understand that they go in and they help out in surgery, but what are they exactly, are they giving, how are they assisting the surgeons in the operating room? Let's put it that way.
Okay, so yeah, and I get that question all the time because it's not one of those fields that a lot of people really know that much about. So let's say a surgeon wants to do a procedure, either elective or an emergency type procedure. They will schedule that with the OR. The OR will assign a surgical tech and a nurse to it, so they have to have nurses as well. The surgical techs will get the case ready, so they know the surgeon's preferences on that particular surgery. So if the surgeon needs certain items, the tech will get that ready. Aseptic technique is what we're all about. So we have to open up all the items using proper aseptic technique, and making sure all the items stay sterile so we could do the procedure and not give the patient an infection. So they set up the entire case based on the surgeon's preferences, get all the right instruments out that they need, and have all that stuff ready, and then perform the procedure with the surgeon. So the surgeon directs the surgical tech what they need done. Yes, we do hand instruments to the surgeon, but we're also active in the surgery as well. And so either providing visualization during surgery or pull tractors for the surgeon, we're in there. Most surgeries will require 2 surgical techs. So one will hand the instruments to the surgeon and do all the counts and make sure all of that stuff is correct, get any extra items that the surgeon might need during the procedure. And then the other tech would help and assist in the surgery. Now the surgeon does the procedure, they just direct us on stuff that they need to do. And we do have some things that we can and can't do, but the surgeon pretty much directs us everything that we need to do. When we're done with the procedure, the surgeon will leave the room, and then we'll basically turn over the room. We don't do just one surgery a day. We do multiple surgeries a day. So the rooms have got to be turned over and ready for the next procedure. This is where surgical techs have to be very skilled and very well versed in procedures, because they may do one procedure with one surgeon that hour and then go to a completely different room into a completely different practice, maybe OBGYN. And we train our students to be able to transition from one surgeon to the next, from one room to the next, even from one hospital to the next. So, but that's essentially what surgical techs will do in surgery.
So it sounds like they're almost like an office manager in the operating room.
Yeah.
Lexi, you want to add something?
I think Travis pretty much covered everything. We are well versed, like he said, to be able to work in several different specialties, ranging from general surgery to OBGYN, delivering babies, neurosurgery. We don't see a lot of that around here, but we try to make sure that our students are well versed and able to go work anywhere. One thing to know is that once you complete the program and pass the course, and then you'll sit for the national exam. And once you've sat for the national exam, you're certified to work anywhere in the country, including Hawaii. We've had several students get traveling positions and travel all over the country.
Now, basically, it's a 1-year program, is that right?
Yes, once you are accepted into the program, it starts in August, and then our students graduate in July.
And I imagine that it's pretty intensive. And so pretty focused, I imagine.
Yes. Another thing to note is we are considered a hybrid course. Mm-hmm. All of your lecture content will be online, with our lab component in the fall and then clinicals in the spring and summer.
So let's actually, you touched on that a little bit. Now, has it always been a hybrid class, or has basically because of what's going on with COVID that you guys switched to it, or did you guys somehow get, I won't say get lucky, but I mean, ended up being ahead of the curve because of this?
We were fortunate to be ahead of the curve. We were a hybrid program before this all started. It was beneficial. It brings students in from Texas, Oklahoma, and southwestern Kansas as well.
How long have you guys been hybrid?
Well, let's see. I've been teaching since I'm in my 13th year, and we were hybrid before then.
Okay.
So the prior, when I went through the program back in the early 2000s, we were face-to-face. So the classroom portion was face-to-face and the lab was face-to-face. So it not that long, mm-hmm. but enough that we've developed the course enough, and we're constantly adding stuff and making it better for the students.
So when you guys went into and hit with the COVID hit and the pandemic, and you guys were basically scrambling, you guys really weren't scrambling on the because everything was already hybrid, and was basically the students who came in knew what they were getting into already.
Yes.
Yeah, we had students in clinicals about that time COVID really hit. We were asked to leave the clinical site stand, just like all the allied health students were.
Right.
We were able to get back in, and so as of right now, we should be able to get students back into clinicals in January, which is when we normally start. We hope that there's no hiccup with it, but there was some things that we had to do differently because of that, but we're hoping this year we'll be back to normal. That's kind of the game plan, is that we kind of get back. Certainly there's going to be some stuff that we have to do differently at the clinical sites, but we hope that the routine is going to be the same. But we made a slight adjustment last March, but we're going to plan on starting back up in January and doing what we were normally doing.
So basically everything was the same. It's just that clinicals in person obviously just couldn't do anything about it. And like you said, it affected everybody.
Yeah, and the classroom portion went on, and we had some students delayed. Fortunately, our accreditation allowed us some leniency toward that. Normally they're pretty stringent with our graduates, but they were working with us too, as with all the other programs. So, but we got them done. We finished that class. It was late this fall when last year's class was still in clinicals. So we basically had 2 groups going at the same time, and we've never had that. And that was just due to COVID.
Okay. So talk about in terms of like job opportunities. Plenty of jobs out there for if someone wants to be a surg tech?
Well, that's the good news. We have them call us all the time. Lexi, she just told me here a while back, she's over talking to our students, and was the Veterans Hospital, I think, had called us, and they were wanting to visit with our graduates via Zoom. That didn't quite work out because we had some students out, but we're going to work with them again. Had KU Medical Center call me up in Kansas City earlier this year seeking our graduates. Up until the COVID thing, we had a 100% placement when it came to our students. So yeah, and most of those had jobs before the program even ended. That's not, most clinical sites are going to want to fill those positions while the students are there doing clinicals. So we've really never had a problem with students getting jobs if they want them, but the jobs will typically come and find them. So we're fortunate with that.
And so basically, if they go into the program, do well, follow all the instructions, pass their certification, they should be able to find a job. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for. But obviously, the most important thing, I'm sure, is that they want to do the job. You know, you don't think
the jobs will find them typically.
Yes. And the options are endless. We had one student that is now working in Arizona, just got hired on. So it's not, you'll have to stay in Southwest Kansas to work. There are jobs everywhere, constantly we're getting calls from hospitals in Minnesota that would like to talk to our students. So it's, the opportunities are endless.
Has it sort of, the opportunity sort of grown a little bit because of COVID?
Has the what?
Has the opportunities, have they grown because of COVID? You know that a lot in the field right now, a lot of people sort of going because they need them. Do you sort of see that as well? Or maybe just not as much, just because that search techs are just so important in general?
Yeah, fortunately, the COVID really doesn't affect the surgery aspect of it. I think surgeries are down, but I don't think it really has affected the job market as far as surgical techs go. I don't think it really affected it because, like I said, all of our students that were seeking jobs even during the COVID or at the end of the school year last year were getting jobs. So I don't think it's really affected it. We still have openings. I just yielded a call from one of our clinical sites a couple of days ago that has an opening. So I don't think it affected it, fortunately. I hope it doesn't.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the application process. And, you know, you guys have your cohorts beginning in the fall, but they certainly need to get things started, and no time like the present. So as we enter the spring semester, how do they go ahead and go through that process?
So our applications become available November 1st every year. Most of the programs have their applications due by March. We like to get our applications in then. We still accept them afterwards. Just if we're full, they may go on a holding pattern to see if we have an available spot. You'll fill out the forms, bring them back. There's a short interview, and if you're accepted, then you start in August.
Anything in particular you had talked about the prerequisites? Who do they go see? Is it a big process? Do they talk to their advisors? Should they talk to you guys? How do they usually work it?
Yeah, if you have any questions, come see us, email us. Our information is on the website as well. Any of these prerequisites that haven't been met by the end of spring can still be taken in the summer. So if you still have a couple courses that you might need to finish up, you can still fill out your application, send it in, and you can still be accepted into the program on the conditions that you finish those courses before August.
And obviously they're prerequisites, so they couldn't take them while they were in the program, correct?
Yeah, we prefer they all be done before getting into the program, just because of our courses being so important.
All right. Well, anything else you guys want to add, guys?
Just if anybody's interested, come to the Colvin Family Center for Allied Health. We're located right on campus. We're the first building that you come to when you pull in off of Kansas Avenue. It's a brand new shiny building. Come and see us there. Admissions, we've been working with them as well. So if a student or a potential student does end up in admissions, they call us all the time. We're always available by phone. Come and see us and we'll point you in the right direction.
All right. Sounds good, guys. We appreciate you taking the time and talk about SurgTech and how important it is. And for the students over there who are interested, you know, get your application, see your advisor, and get those prereqs done. Guys, thanks again, and you guys have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.